As much as I like fondant, I really wanted to challenge myself and make it without any fondant. And here is our masterpiece, our centerpiece of our Halloween table. A jack-o'-lantern cake that is lighted from the inside. Let's see how I'm making it. Here we go. As we won't be using any fondant, we need lots of ganache. I like ganache because it hardens and stays hard for a bit in this horrible heat. You can of course use any kind of buttercream or frosting instead. To make the white chocolate ganache, I melt the chocolate a bit and bring the heavy cream to a simmer. Both get mixed and initially it looks really messy until it gets better and all smooth. As we want the lantern to have a pumpkin-like color, I mix both yellow and red food coloring. With ganache, I try to make the mix a bit darker than it needs to be, as the color will lighten when it is beaten. Once you're happy with the color, just let it cool off.
2 hours later.
Ooh, baby. Woohoo! No! Yeah, I broke my mixer. How about that? And this is the reason why you let it cool off, but not as badly as I did here, because you don't want to break your mixer. Okay, my mixer technically didn't break, but it did give me a scare. So we were able to put it back together. Thank God I don't need to buy any new parts for it. Just be careful. Well, I end up doing this manually, but not on camera. This is just too awkward to stand, so I'll be back when I'm done. And finally, I've come to the consistency I want. See? Kind of fluffy. Because it's getting warmer, it's looking kind of grainy, but it's not a problem. And see, no little speckles left. I was kind of worried about that, but the mixing did the trick. And now it's time for the cake. For the cakes, we got one of them and number 2. Each of these beauties are one portion of my basic vanilla cake. So 1 and 2. And you can get the recipe for that up here. And I will of course list it down there. So I had them in the freezer because I like to bake ahead. The total height is probably a bit too much. Yep, it's way too much. I mean, the camera doesn't even capture it all. So yeah, I'll probably cut them. Not probably, I will cut them here and here. The crumbs won't be, the leftovers won't be thrown away. I'll make cake pops and we need to close it up. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And here I attempt to cut the frozen cake, because I'm impatient like that. Let me just tell you, don't try to cut frozen cake. Just let it thaw and then it is easy peasy. So we finally cut them in 2, but I want to have this more delicious. So before cutting it up, I'll make a bit of space. I could layer this more, but you know, this is a very soft cake and I don't want to push it too hard. If it was a sponge cake, the situation would have been different. So I'm making a bit of space. This could be the front. And now we get some homemade marmalade. It's a plain vanilla cake, so some fruit will make this more interesting for sure. And this is a bit more sour, so we'll even it out a bit. And now it's time for the cover. Then I mark where the front is supposed to be and go nuts on carving out the cake. I reference the most classic, and you maybe can even call it basic, jack-o'-lantern that there is. I really advise you to use a pointy but serrated knife here. It made the whole deal really easy to carve out. I will cut this in a bit so that we get more lighting let's just say I will work from the inside so that the shape from the outside won't get hurt, and then I will try how it will look with light. I think it's visible that I have opened up in there, and now let's test our small light, but I doubt that will be enough. Let's turn off the lights. Where's the other light? Where's the other light switch? Nah, that's not doing it. Let's try another, because this is really low. How about this? Ooh, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Okay, this is a fairy light I got from IKEA, and I must say this looks good. Now that I've decided on the kind of light I'll be using here, it is time to crumb coat this boy. I try to get the inner sides covered as well. I mean, the eyes and the nose and whatever, but not the middle part. I don't want to get my light more dirty than it needs to be. Now it's all crumb coated. Not perfectly, but it is. And off into the fridge. And now comes the tedious part, the icing. I'm piping this on as evenly as possible because the white chocolate ganache is hella heavy and I don't want to use it more than it needs to be used. Well, it's all covered up, but problem is, here the ganache was still kinda cold, and here it's not. So that's why it looks so uneven. And I tried to fix it here a bit, but the best choice for me right now is to toss this into the fridge and then correct or a bit even it out a bit, you know? Because right now that's just not happening because it's literally melting away. It's just way too hot here. While that's cooling off, I use a bit of the leftover ganache and mix in some green for the stem. Then I get some of the cake and use the ganache that was already contaminated by the crumbs and some extra to make some cake pop mixture for the stem part. As I was not referencing the cake directly, I initially made the stem enclosing part way too big, but it was an easy fix after all. This will be the lower layer because the cake pop thing won't hold it on its own. I will cover it in foil. No, at first I will cut it to size, cover it in foil, and then put it on. And then I can cover it without the ganache. Once that was done, I tried to fix the ganache on the cake, which was questionable at best, I suppose. You know what? This looks good. The more I play around with this, the worse it will get. Yes, the worse it will get, I said, and still play around with it. You know what? This is good. By the way, the lights, I will insert them now because I'm basically done, but it get packaged up just in case. I don't want to have any accidents. I will lift this up, put this in, have that in the back, and we should be good to go. I mean, it's not stopping the light. Yeah. Here comes the stem, here comes the stem. It's a bit big, but it works out nonetheless. I mean, you can do it without the stem. It's still a bit thick. But you know, it looks good. It looks good in its own regard. Then I use the green ganache and cover the thing. I probably could have mixed the green ganache with the cake pop mixture directly, but this looks well as well. And me, the idiot, realized that the stem wasn't the broad part in the first place, so I covered the lower part with the main body orange and evened it out a bit and called it a day. I love how it turned out. I wish the whole virus thing wasn't going on to throw a decent Halloween party, but oh well. Cutting a slice was no problem as well, and no, I didn't harm the lights. I am clumsy, but I'm not that clumsy, thank God. Well, this was our second Halloween video. I truly hope you've enjoyed this, and if that's the case, please drop a like down below. And tell me if you have ever carved a pumpkin that looked like this. I mean, like the cake we made. If you don't want to miss our other Halloween videos and stuff that I'm making in the kitchen or in my studio in that case, don't forget to subscribe. You won't miss them. We have weekly videos. Every Friday we're here. Come hang out with us. And I can only thank you for watching till the end. Have a delicious weekend and see you next Friday.